And we are live. Welcome, everyone. It's Modwain's House of Fun with absolutely no serious topic that was prepared. That doesn't, however, mean that we don't have a serious topic, because as we were rambling pre-stream, Carlos was like, we should talk about climate change. And there are plenty of things that we can talk about, feminism being one, cultural Marxism being the other. But we haven't really talked much about climate change. So maybe that actually is a good idea. So, Carlos, take it away.
Thank you, Modwain. Hello, everyone in chat. We've recently been introduced to a Green New Deal in the United States. And there are things that happened that has been introduced there that are clearly unobtainable. In 10 years, replace carbon-based fuel, carbon-based energy sources with renewables, and there's not even atomic, just renewables. That is unattainable. But my point is, I want to make this clear. I know that it's a fact that humans are influencing climate change. That is not disputable. It is a fact, because we have cut down trees in forests from the Amazon to Africa to Asia. We've reduced the carbon sucking or carbon absorbing plants and so on on Earth. So we're not having that equilibrium. Before the Industrial Revolution, there was an equilibrium between the carbon that we emitted and the carbon that was absorbed by natural means. We have interfered with that. That is a fact. My point is why is that a bad thing? And I have scientific backing by that. About 56 million years ago, the Earth experienced what is called the Eocene thermal maximum. It was just after the extinction of the dinosaurs, about 10-ish million years ago, after the extinction of the dinosaurs. Earth became really, really warm and hot and humid. There were no ice at all, so it was not in ice age. And what happened there? Life exploded. The mammals, which became the dominant phyla, I think that's the correct word. I might be wrong. It's the dominant group. Exploded in everything. Others also grew. The alligator, the reptiles also expanded. Snakes evolved, etc., etc. There are a lot of the birds. So that period where the temperature of the Earth was about, on average, about 5 to 10 degrees hotter than it is now. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like to think that people don't understand the reality of climate anyway. And yeah, my personal favorite example always has been Greenland. We know Greenland was discovered more or less by the Vikings, the Norse Viking. And when he came there, he named it Greenland because it was bloody well green.
No, actually, that was a marketing tactic. He wanted to attract Eric the Red or Eric the Red's father, I can't remember which one of those, wanted to bring people there, and he didn't want to call it Iceland because there was already an Iceland there, and he wanted to call it Glacier Land, so he said, shit, what we will call it? Greenland. But that's basically what it is.
But if we continue onward, if we go, for example, to...
he called it, sorry to interfere, he called it mostly Greenland because he did go to Vinland, which is in Canada. God damn it, I can't remember if it's Newfoundland or around that area. And yes, that was green. So he said, oh shit, let's call that area Greenland, you know? Yeah, it's about
because anyway. The second area was called Vinland because...
there were vines there, yeah.
Yeah, because you could make grapes, whatnot. But even though Greenland was not as green as certain parts in Europe, it was still greener than it is now because it wasn't an ice land. There are texts that are talking about how it was rocky, so it didn't have a lot of growing ability.
We could say that the green that was when Eric went there could be almost equivalent of what we have now. There was a small, slight warming period. Then it cooled again, and then it became in the 1600s. It cooled really rapidly. There was a little, really mini ice age we had, and then but
we're at the end of the ice age.
Yeah. No, it's not the end of the ice age. It's the end of a glacial period. We're still in an ice age.
Well, yeah.
There's ice on Earth. It will not be an ice age. It'll end when there's no ice on Earth.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it's slightly receding, which is what's supposed to happen.
But this receding could lead to another glacial period, and I'll explain why. Glaciations occur. There are many factors. There's the what's his name? He was a Yugoslav scientist. That means that the Earth, when it orbits around the Sun, there are periods where it fluctuates, where it gets the orbit gets long or gets wider, so that it recedes goes wider around the Sun, and then there's also our tilt. The Earth's tilt also wobbles. So there's the thing that elongating of the orbit plus the wobble is known to cause glacial periods. I wish I could remember. It starts with S. I'm not going to search it because I don't want to. I'm too lazy. But I think it starts with S. It's this Milankovitch cycle. I think it's called Milankovitch or something. Milankovitch or whatever. It starts with them.
It's the
Milankovitch or whatever.
Because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, it's the natural cycle, but because we have interfered with Milankovitch, thank you. I knew it was coming to me. Like I said, I'm shit with names, but I know the people. The warming that is happening now could lead to an ice age because of one factor. Europe is the key to glacial formation. The glacial formation started with two factors. The firstly was the joining of the Americas, North and South America, in the Panama Isthmus, and that caused the disruption of a global oceanic currents. And that is basically when really the broad crux of glaciation happened around 2.8 to 3 million years ago, around 3 million years ago. There were ice ages before that, but they were punctual. They were due to volcanism, erosion, mountain formation, etc. And it is not what the Milankovitch cycle basically happened after about 2 million years ago because of the joining of the Americas. What happened is that it formed a new current. One is the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream, which starts in the Caribbean area, it flows upwards upwards of the American continent, North America, and then it warms Europe. It's about 25% of European heating, basically.
Yeah.
Because at the same latitude of Europe and the United States, the United States is -10, Europe is about 0.
That's, for example, when you're living in the Netherlands and Belgium, in the winter months, you can really feel the difference when there is a wind coming over land or coming from the sea. When the wind comes from the sea, it's a lot warmer than when it comes from the land.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. That's part right. This warming of what will happen is this warming that we're having existing now. The only place that will affect mostly world climate is not Antarctica. The Arctic is ice over water, so that has no zero influence. Antarctica has some influence, but it's Greenland that is the greatest influencer of climate worldwide. At the moment, the glaciers in Iceland are melting at an unprecedented rate. So they are dumping billions of liters, metric tons of fresh water into, and it's cold, fresh cold water into the North Atlantic, and it is right in the path of the Gulf Stream. So it is cooling it down. If it'll be enough, if there's enough fresh cold water that's
fresh water into the sea ocean.
Yeah, slows down or even stops the Gulf Stream, Europe will chill. It'll have winters that are much colder, more snow, and longer, so snow will accumulate.
Well, yeah, but it's also causing the levels of desalinization much higher than it should be, which drops the temperatures of everything around it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it'll mean that it'll slow the Gulf Stream that's warming Europe. Means Europe will start accumulating snow. It'll take a long time, longer than human experience, like more than about 1,000 years, easily. It's not. It's in geological times. It is a blink of an eye, but in human terms, it'll take time. There could be a cold snap like we had when that Iceland volcano that has a fucking weird name, FL whatever name, which caused a lot of sulfur dioxide onto the atmosphere. Europe experienced a lot of a cold climate. We had a lot of snow. I remember that period. I loved it. I fucking love snow. Yeah.
Yep. So basically what's going to be happening slowly or faster is Europe will start having the effects first, which means colder summers and longer winters.
Yes, it will, and the ice will accumulate, and then it will it's like what's that word? Accumulative effects. It'll get more snow, so the lights from the sun will bounce back into the atmosphere. Even though there's a hell of a lot of carbon dioxide, it'll still mitigate that, because there'll be more in other areas of the earth. There'll be more rainfall, and when rainfall happens in mountains, carbon is taken out of the atmosphere. That's why we've had past glacial periods like the snowball Earth. It was super hot, but then something happened that mountains were forming. There was a hell of a lot of rain, and the rain would dissolve the carbon dioxide and trap it into sediments. So it would leach a carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and if it becomes cool enough in one area and wet enough in another area, it will leach carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It will multiply the effect, even though there are. It's the science. The science is brilliant. I can just barely. I can understand it. Not the technical maths and shit, but I can see the brilliance of the science, and it is all linked. That's why I'm not worried about climate change, because I know it will trigger things, and it'll balance itself out naturally. Now, after I'll finish, we'll go to the political side of climate change, and that is excitingly beautiful.
But this is the funny thing, though, because people keep talking about how climate change is a terrible thing, and maybe it is. I don't care.
We will get to that in the political side, but for now, I'm trying to explain the science as best as I know it, and I will challenge any person who does climatology to try and find any holes in my rationale, because that's exactly.
Here's the one question that no one even bothers answering. Okay, let's assume the climate is changing. Assume it is.
Yeah.
Why is this something we should worry about?
We'll get to that in the political side. But for now,
The political side doesn't even tell us why we should worry. It merely tells us to worry because it's happening.
Yes. Now let's let me. I think I've almost covered the science. Mountain building, leaching. In time it will cause that. There will be other factors like volcanology could happen. It's happening now. I have an app that tells me when volcanoes are erupting and earthquakes. So it's fucking awesome. The carbon dioxide will. We could get into a snowball Earth possibly, but that's slightly highly unlikely because I don't see any evidence of plate tectonics enough to cause that mountain building and shit. There's not just enough evidence. But we should have been, if it wasn't for the industrial revolution and thing, if we didn't invent the carbon-based energy sources, we should have already been going to slowly cooling down, slowly. Over 10,000 years at least, because this period of warming that we are happening is getting to the longest warming phase we've had in our geological history. There are ice cores that tell us that we have enough evidence from ice cores, from mud cores in the Atlantic Ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, in Australia, all over the world. We've made cores which we extract columns of mud and ice and etc. And we have got to the point where we can see years changing in years, not in decades or anything, changes in years. That's how good we have gotten to analyzing the data that we're having now. So the trend should have been already to become slowly cooling down. Say in about 5,000 years, the glaciers would have been enough to start a new glacial maximum that should last for about 100,000 years, because the warming periods are less than the cooling periods. But 2.5 million years ago, that's the pattern. You have long periods of cold, very short periods of warmth, long periods of cold, etc. And this period of warmth is extended. It's been extended a little bit. It's at the limit at the moment. So yeah. Now let's go and talk about politics. Every country of the Western Western nations are pushing for this climate change thing. They're promoting it so much. It's like that they live in a different planet, because if the Western world is about a quarter of all the countries on Earth. I'm roughly estimating. There's Europe, North America, Australasia, Japan and Korea. Used to be South Africa, but they're gone. They were the Western. South America is different. South America is a agglomeration of a lot, but the Western world is basically North America, even including Mexico. I'm including Mexico in North America. Europe, Europe, even Eastern Europe, from Russia, including Russia, and Australasia. That's a quarter of the countries on Earth, a quarter of the world. If that quarter does everything to mitigate climate change, electric cars, zero emissions, it'll do absolute zero to the pollution levels and climate change, because you have the three quarters polluting like they don't care. That's what that's why they're pushing for taxes. You don't promote pollution control by castigating people. Why not incentivize them? If you want to recycle, pay them a symbolic fee. A kilogram of aluminium cans, 10 cents or 10 euros.
It's kind of funny to say that, because in the Netherlands, we have this old system, and it's been going on since glass bottles, to make sure that people bring the bottles back to the shops where they get them. They basically pay. In Dutch, they call it statiegeld, and I can't really I can't really translate it. But basically, it's like when you bring an empty bottle back, the shop will give you a little bit of money back that you paid when you bought the bottle, and it's usually about 25 cents. So for every bottle I bring back, I've paid 25 cents when I bought the bottle, and when I bring it back, I get 25 cents back. They then just organize the bottles, and then they either clean the bottles or they remelt them and remake them.
Well, they do that here in the United States. You get a nickel per bottle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can or glass, it doesn't really matter.
I remember when I was living in Australia that we had that with aluminium cans. There was even on sale for about a few dollars, the can crusher. That you put the can there, you push it there. It was like a lever and crush it down so you could get more, reduce the space. And they didn't pay that much.
No, but it was based, so yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's symbolic. It was symbolic. Over the year, 1 year of drinking and and recycling those cans, you probably get about $35-$40. But for the $35 a year, you'd say, "Wow, I could buy a skateboard. I could buy a something like that." It was brilliant. But now, what have they done? No, let's fucking tax people. Let's put the carbon tax. Let's put tax on this, tax on that. People are getting. The point is that poverty. People, if you reduce people to poverty, they don't fucking give a shit about pollution. They will pollute the fuck out of whatever they have. Affluency. People with a certain degree of affluency are the cleanest you can get. You either raise those 3/4 of the population to a certain level of affluency where they don't pollute, but if you bring that one quarter down to the level of the pollution will only get worse. That's what I mean about climate change at this moment. The United Nations. The United Nations is pushing this utopian dream that is unattainable, because if 3/4 of the earth does it and 1/4 cannot compensate for 3/4, it's impossible. Yeah, I think I've done my ranting. Sorry about that, guys. Now it's up to you.
But that's the thing, though, because nowadays we're talking about how climate change is a problem, but no one can tell you why it is a problem. What is the problem of climate change?
Extreme weather. Okay, so
extreme weather.
It's been there forever. Now that you can see it, now the problem, right?
Okay, let's say the worst thing that can happen is extreme weather. Okay, what kind of extreme weather are we looking at?
Oh, it's going to be really hot in Australia. It's going to be really cold in New York. Oh.
Okay, but that's not a problem, because there are places where it is really cold and there are places where it is really hot, and there are already people living there, so we can manage that.
Exactly. Yes.
So it's not exactly a problem. It's more like a whining situation. I want to complain that it's too hot.
And the thing is, and this is something that I always found very interesting about. What was the name of that guy? The Inconvenient Truth guy.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
The guy that flew around the world in his plane to talk to us about how we are polluting our atmosphere. He was an American vice president. I forgot his name. Al Gore. That's the
Al Gore. Yeah.
Inconvenient Truth. The thing is, it is an inconvenient truth, but not for the reason they claim it to be. It's an inconvenient truth because, you know what? It's not nice. It'll cost us some, effort to adjust to, but it's not going to be a real problem.
It is a problem. It's more of an economic problem, but you can plan for that.
Hey, Smurkus. Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm sorry. Not a clue what you mean there. No, but
Hey, Marcus.
you can't plan for certain things, but you can plan for the ecological change of the world.
No, but we know enough of the science. We can plan for extreme events. We can plan
Yeah.
for
Problem.
cyclones hitting level 5 cyclones hitting countries.
No, there are things that we will have problems with. Certain extreme event of earthquake. Yeah, sure.
No, earthquakes are not climate change. I'm talking about climate change.
I know, but that's the thing, though, because that's how they keep pushing it. No, climate change is a problem because of tsunamis. Yeah, but tsunamis are caused by earthquakes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not climate change, but but people say, "Oh no, we got a twister," but that's not climate change.
Shit, but I know the frequency of twisters in the United States, and they are cyclical, and there's enough registries, enough data going back at least 100 years that shows there are years that are more, years that are less, years that are more. So, if 3 level 5 cyclone hurricanes hit the United States this year, and then you wait a few years and not one is hit, and you go, okay,
yeah,
that'll happen, of course.
Yeah, obviously it will happen. It's just people want to complain, so that's the climate change complaint that they're saying, oh, it's bad. What is bad? That it didn't happen for 3 years. Now it's happening, so it's bad.
But you can plan for that. You can in the interest. You can say, okay, there's more. This year we had.
Well, see, that's the point. They don't want to plan. They don't want to prevent. They just want to complain.
They don't want to tax. That's the problem. It's just taxing. Taxes. Let's make the government. The government knows best. No.
No, but the government doesn't know best because, let's be honest, America pulled out the Paris Accord, and in the last year they have done more to reduce CO2 output than the countries that are still in the climate accord.
Exactly, because they are the ones that are polluting. China, India, South America, Africa, Asia, they are all polluting 10 times more and continuing and even more pollute because they are poor. The poorer the country you are, the poorer the society you are, the more you pollute. Portugal is, I'm giving my example of Portugal because I've grown up from from when we were really shit poor to not as shit poor. We're still a bit poor, but not as shit poor. We're doing a lot. We've improved in output of pollution. We don't pollute as much because we're slightly more affluent than we were 40 years ago. That's what happens. Affluency is what reduces pollution, not taxing people. If you want to, the Green New fucking deal that idiot has proposed, where they've underestimated by a factor.
I'm sorry, guys. I have to go AFK for a second. Continue without me, but I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'll continue. Ocasio-Cortez, or as Steve Craddock says, occasional cortex. No, Gartzard says occasional cortex. I love that guy. That Green New Deal plan is to make the indebtedness of the United States, it's about $50 trillion. It's not the $17 trillion that they've underestimated. It'll be $50 or $100 trillion to make that happen. It'll make the United States, the powerhouse, the economic powerhouse of the world, into worse than Somalia.
Yep, but as long as they get their money now instead of later, which is what they only think of, crap just goes on and on.
But they want to do that because they think that they will be part of that elite group that, like in every dictatorship, there's that elite group that is benefits, and the people that hold it up, the military or whatever, those elite group. They think they will be part, but they will not be part of that. They will be eaten up by the by the what's that word? By the vultures that are surrounding them, the plutocrats at this point in time. I think it's the plutocrats that are going to be that are vying for power. Before it was ordinary dictatorships, but now it's plutocrats, the banks and the high tech, the technology companies. They see their little opening, but it could backfire, and they'll be eaten alive by someone that they have not even dreamed would happen. And I can't foresee it either. So yeah.
It's a never-ending crap of who gets what and how do we fix it, not using any money. I'm like, there's no such thing as fixing something without money.
Education, you can fix it with education, but not the West. You have to educate the rest of the world. Here you go. We've developed the technology. We can even give it to them for fucking free. And
thank you, John, and hello.
We can. Hey, Svegas. We can give the technology to pollute. China is developing solar panels, really, really cheap solar panels. Let them export it. Let them expand to the rest of the world, so that so other countries won't. Batteries are developing at a fast rate, and the best technology ever, which when it's massified for transport, is going to be the fuel cell.
Hey, man.
The fuel cell is to me much better than batteries, because battery requires certain rare earth metals, but in fuel cells you can use platinum, which is not that rare earth, and it'll provide converting, say, alcohol, which you can distill from plants, which eats up the carbon footprint to make hydrogen fuel cells or fuel cells that eventually make hydrogen into a basically carbon neutral power plant. Have 4 electric motors with a fuel cell, and you have a 4-wheel drive, which is fucking awesome.
Yep.
Just fill it up with whiskey, basically.
No, never. Sorry.
You see what I mean? Yeah, you see what I mean.
Car or something.
Yeah, not whiskey, but moonshine. Moonshine is acceptable.
Yeah, the blind stuff. Yeah, people can put that in the car. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. That sort of thing.
Oh yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I tend to, unless the battery is one of those things that's already in the damn thing, like on a cell phone, you can't really take out the battery and use something else. It has to be that. But if it requires portable batteries like AAA, C, Ds,
yeah, no, that's not.
I don't use those.
Yeah.
I haven't used a battery I haven't used a battery on anything in like 10 years now, because I'm so lazy for batteries. I just hook up the equipment to solar panels.
Solar panels, yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. I don't know how many of you follow Thunderfoot. He's a brilliant scientist. I admire him when he's science, but he's a toddler when it comes to politics.
Yeah, politics, he's an idiot.
Yeah, and I forgive you. I forgive scientists for their politics because they are morons at politics.
But that's not what they do. I mean, it's just the same. That you don't come to me to fix your car.
No, exactly. But yeah. Now the other day he made. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck he was doing. He was criticizing Elon Musk's batteries. And he he said a few things. Gasoline is better, has more energy. Solar cells is better than batteries, but less than alcohol, less than petrol. And I couldn't, for the life of me, thinking, dude.
I didn't something respond. Like this, Modwain.
I didn't respond. I said, to myself, dude, are you promoting gasoline and debunking batteries? What the fuck are you doing?
Indeed. In the right, Smirkers, that will be me.
Bad news. I can't fix cars. I can. Well, it depends. Well, now it's even worse. But I used to be able to fix cars not long ago.
That's the thing, though. I mean, I worked on my mopeds and my first motor. I repaired everything myself.
On my motorbike, I only don't repair the brakes because, Jesus,
Nope.
I don't want to kill myself.
No problem at all. I could do that too. The thing is, nowadays, everything has chips, and you have to read it.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Even my Freelander has chips, and it's the first generation of the TD4, the BMW engine. And it's, but it's bloody nice. I love it. Anyway, that's nothing. That's something else. But yeah, the way that we are tackling a certain group of people, a certain sector of society is tackling climate change. It's basically, to me, it's tied in with divide, conquer, and put the foundations to develop a bloody worldwide dictatorship. It's creating social instability, and not just the social instability, but instability in the security instability. People don't feel secure, so they want government intervention to make them secure. They will give up their freedoms so they can feel safe. And it's all fucking, to me, it looks all tied in. Because if, like I said, 3/4 of the world continue to pollute, it's an analogy. You have a house, you're surrounded by 3 neighbors. You don't make smoke at all. You cook on solar powered barbecue, solar powered everything. But your neighbors have coal-powered barbecues and everything. It'll be useless. See what I mean? The analogy?
Yeah.
So, no, if we really are seriously want to tackle climate change worldwide, the West, we've done that. We've been doing that for about 30 years now, 40 years now. You go to every country, mate. Here you go. Use this technology. We will give it to you. Solar, or not even solar panels, but really clean technology. Use it. Don't you dare spend money on arms. Spend money on clean technology, clean power. Nuclear, the cleanest power you can get.
Yeah, we've seen the results of that one.
We have now we've developed technology. We've developed technology that make nuclear power super safe. If it wasn't for a safe technology, the Fukushima accident, which was hit by the most powerful earthquake ever. It's
earthquake
more powerful than that. And then a tsunami.
For fuck's sake.
It survived. It did not become the Ukrainian type thing. What was it called?
Chernobyl.
It didn't become a Chernobyl. It was contained to a relatively small area.
But that relatively small area is still a problem.
Okay, yeah, but Jesus, it's like being hit by a meteor the size of Mount Everest. You just cannot factor in that. We didn't until that earthquake. I'd never heard of a 9 on the Mercalli scale, which is even higher than the Richter scale. The Richter scale's been phased out, but the Mercalli on 9, there's nothing. It was the worst earthquake you could have,
and yet caused a problem. So it's not that safe.
But you can't program for that. Mountains can't program for that.
No, you just don't do it.
But
you want to be safe, don't do that. Do something else.
But nuclear in the United States, in the East Coast, there you don't have tectonic plates. Japan is it's between 3 tectonic plates, or 2 at least.
Okay, let's take out the earthquake. Let's build a power plant, a nuclear power plant, on a zone that doesn't have earthquakes, and
we'll make it quite stable.
Exactly.
We'll make it stable, and then it gets destroyed by tsunami. So now it's destroyed. It
won't be destroyed by a tsunami.
It polluted the water that gets sucked into people's plants, going to the ocean. That was a power plant that was very, very safe, but now polluted water.
Who?
By thousands and thousands of gallons. It is not safe. Yeah, I agree.
You're contradicting yourself. if it is on a place where there will be no tectonic movement,
there's no earth, there's no
there's
tsunami.
no earthquake, therefore there is no tsunami.
You do know there's an island on the east coast.
3 Mile Island, I know that would happen, but that was the technology of the 50s. I'm talking about technologies of the 2000s.
No. That island's gonna break apart. It hasn't.
You tell me there's no Los Palmos in the Canary Islands.
Oh, the Canary
Due to
Islands.
slide.
Yeah.
It's
I
due
know.
to slide into the sea, and it will send a tsunami of gigantic proportions.
It will
But
hit
let's just
Portugal.
say
Yes, I know. Yeah.
nuclear power will be the least of our problems.
Exactly. Yes. But you can make it. You don't have to make it in Washington or New York.
You can put it
Dude,
somewhere
every-
over.
You can
Just
put
don't
it
put them
in
in Utah. We don't want to
upstate
upset Alicia.
New York, for example,
Well,
or you can build 7 new super nuclear power plants in the mid plains, in Iowa, Oklahoma.
What's the
There's no
efficiency of
tsunami that will
transporting electricity, though? I mean, surely there will be some loss if you transport it greater distances. So that should be
you can mitigate them, but you can make them.
And we're talking about nuclear now. But the thing is, we haven't reached the end goal with solar yet. And we can do so much more with solar than solar plates. Solar plates, I have them, don't get me wrong, are useless.
Really?
Big ass solar farms, right?
But
They're still very, very inefficient. Yeah.
Solar.
Can I just finish a little bit more? Just end the nuclear thing. The modern, and then we'll go to solar. Modern nuclear plants to stop meltdown. You know how they do? The fail-safe mechanism is they put the water on top of the rods where the thing. If there's anything happens, it is like an automatic. Just the gravity fed. So it's it cannot have it not being covered in water. It's impossible. The old technologies like in 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, etc., they had to pump the water in. But in the new ones, no. The water is gravity fed. So it does not even need any mechanical device to happen. And it's heavy water, by the way. So they're completely safe. 100 times safer than they were 10, 15 years ago. The Japanese have developed this technology. The French have developed, but they're cutting down. Germany apparently is going to get rid of all its Spain's going to get rid of its 2 nuclear power plants. Fucking that's 2. Jeez, pathetic. The Castilians are pathetic people. Jesus. And it's not racist calling Castilians pathetic because they are pathetic.
Yeah, but I don't really think you can say Castilian is a race.
Exactly, they're not. So there you go. Technically, they're an ethnic group, but
no, they're not even an ethnicity.
They are.
No, they're not. No, because the Castilians, everyone who falls under Spain is a Castilian. Well, not everyone.
No.
There are some small groups who are not. But the
small groups. The Galicians are Portuguese. The Catalans are not even a totally different country. The Aragonese, the Navarre, they're totally different.
The Basques. Forget the Basques.
The Basques. So even the Spanish, which have around the Granada, they have a lot of Moroccan and Moorish influence because they were under it. They are totally different. Now the Castilians are what come from Castilla-La Mancha and a little bit up to Leon. So yeah, I could say that thing, but no, they are a distinct ethnic group in the Iberian Peninsula.
Yeah, have to trigger a Catalonian, call them a Castilian.
Or a Galician, or exactly.
No, but especially a Castilian.
Catalonian, yeah. Oh.
But the thing is, when we
off target. Yeah.
When we talk about alternatives for energy, and people talk about green energy, they're not really sure what they're talking about because, in all fairness, nuclear is green.
It is. It's green.
It's just the sort of green energy we don't like, but that's because we don't know how to deal with it.
But we do now.
And
we've developed technology to store spent fuel that lasts billions of years in areas which are stable, geologically stable for billions of years. We can encase their spent fuel in glass.
The thing is, the main problem we have with our nuclear option at this moment is that our nuclear plants are all uranium based. And
but it's still we can encase the uraniums and the plutonium spent fuels in glass, which are geologically stable, chemically stable, so they only release radiation, and then we can store them in certain areas of the world. For example, Norway has an area, Greenland has an area, Australia could house it.
But the thing is, there are other radioactive isotopes out there that have a far lower, how do you call it, contaminant output. They will have a lot less trash.
But no, they would still be the same. We can reduce the pollution level of the spent fuels to cosmic radiation levels that we receive every time we go outside or every time we're in our house. We are receiving radiation from space that greater than if you were living 100 meters from a nuclear power plant. And I mean factor of 1,000 or 10,000.
Again, free power. We could use that, but
the thing is, if we look at how we're dealing with the situation, if we look at countries like the UK, the Netherlands, Belgium, France, they have huge coastlines. That's something we could use. Tidal energy is a thing. We're simply not looking into it. Solar energy.
Yeah, but the problem is we can use every form of power generation. The problem is there is always some ecological warrior that finds fault in that.
Yeah,
those wind turbines above the highway that you showed us not too long ago was pretty awesome as well.
Yeah.
Nuclear power is basically Greenpeace, the Greens, and so on that made it so there were since it was developed in 1940s. There were 10 nuclear accidents on Earth of nuclear power plants. There were three major ones: 3 Mile Island, the Ukrainian one, and Fukushima. They were the biggest ones.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I don't even want to go into nuclear or fusion, even though fusion doesn't really seem to work well.
It's still a pipe dream.
Yeah, it still is. But anyway, doesn't matter. If we look at wind, we can use, for example, as John the Muse said in chat, in Britain we have not much sun, but we do have a lot of wind, thus wind farms. We can put wind farms around everywhere. This is in the UK, this is in the Netherlands, this is in Norway, this is in Sweden. But if I look at the Netherlands only, and I'm only going to talk about the Netherlands because I live in this country, I know. People are complaining. The not in my backyard attitude is so huge that they actually have a problem to put down wind farms.
They're visually horrific.
Just hire a graffiti artist or some shit, man. Jesus Christ.
Oh no, they're huge and they're ugly.
And apparently they also kill a lot of birds.
Well, they do kill birds. I'll not deny that.
So every form of energy has generation has power. Do you know what the ecological fascists want? Basically, going back to pre-industrial times,
which will never happen.
No, it could happen. Yes, the way that things are going, I'm telling you, it could happen.
Yeah, but then it's going to be a lot of bloodshed because then people fight for what they do have.
The population of the Earth will drop by about 3/4, and I'm not too bad about that.
But at the same time, there are
That's not such a huge disaster, to be honest.
but there are also people who say, you know what? The amount of population the Earth can withstand is easily double what we have now. But they estimate that the total population will probably level out at 10 billion.
I disagree. I don't think we'll get there. The way the things are going, I predict in not too distant future, there's going to be. We're repeating the 30s, 20s, and 30s now. It's evident.
Oh
It's
yeah, we do.
everywhere. And we just need that little spark.
But if I look at green alternatives, I mean, you can have wind farms, you can have wind thingies, I forgot the name, turbines, that you can have horizontally over the freeway. The movement of cars driving there will create wind shear, will create not wind shear, it will create wind movement, which will cause these wind turbines to act. It doesn't cost anything. Well, obviously, it costs a little bit of money to put them there, but once they're there, you don't have to really do anything. You put them above a highway, so it's not as if you're actually going to break someone's view, and they still don't want to do it.
Well, you can put it that close to the highway, and I got a good example because where I live, we have a wind farm that's about 10 miles off the city. There's 40 of those wind turbines. They're huge. They can't be closer than 100 feet from the highway.
No. You're talking about something else than I'm talking about.
Oh, sorry.
What a good thing is every house have autonomous power.
You can these days. You can have a smaller one.
Wind, solar, and if you have near close to a stream or something, hydro power. You can.
Well, like me, I'm planning on buying a house with autonomous energy. Solar and wind are very. There's a lot of it over here where I live.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna be tapping into both of them, and I already done my calculations on how much of what I'm gonna need to run my house during the summer and winter at the time without having to use
3 megawatts, 2 megawatts was perfectly for an average house. 2 to 3 megawatts.
I'm going to show you guys something, and it's not the best picture I can find. I will not lie, but this is basically an example.
Wow, that is different.
And you can do this. We have the technology to do this.
Now, see, that would have been great
Those were awesome.
if they put that here.
And it
We'll
doesn't
kill a lot of birds still.
it's flowing. No, it won't. Well, yeah, it'll kill the birds stupid enough to go and sit over there. But you can fix that by putting on another, how do you call that, bar over on top of it so that they can sit on top of those bars. But I'm sorry about the birds. They get killed anyway. The thing is, the mere movement of the cars will create wind as well, and that will push these wind turbines as well. So,
it also has the benefit of punishing lorries that are too tall.
But then there's also another. You see, yes, there will be ecological morons, warrior morons, who will say, "Oh, it's creating noise pollution."
I heard people music. I'd rather hear that.
Yeah. Like I said, you can't please those fucks.
Yep.
And you can't please them. Like I said,
nuclear.
nuclear.
You can say this causes wind pollution. It's over a fucking highway.
Doesn't matter. They'll say, "Oh, it's increased the noise pollution. We have the cars in there, but because it's high, the noise will pass over the sun." They are. Oh, yeah. This is awesome, Modwain. I'm for this. But do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot please those. The best thing, the most efficient, cleanest, totally non intrusive is nuclear.
Well, yeah, nuclear is you can hide it away without people figuring out that it's there.
Exactly. If you put wind turbines that kill birds and they're horrible looking at and they make noise. Hydro powers. You're damming this river. The little fish won't go up. tidal power. Oh, the birds will sit on top of it; they'll get electrocuted. I'm making all this apart from the tidal. I know how the tidal power works. They can do it in certain parts. You can't do it in other parts because of the difference of tidal energy. Australia is awesome. The UK is awesome. The Netherlands is awesome as well.
Definitely.
Belgium is awesome as well. But then you have other places where the tidal range is non-existent. So
Yeah. So then you don't.
Solar, you can put solar in every house.
But this is a form of solar that, for example, I think this is from Spain. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Spain. This is in Australia.
You can do this in Australia, indeed.
Where you have all of them around the world, aren't there?
Inefficient because do you know why? Because
one sec. Let me explain what this is, because there were people who thought this is solar panels. They're not solar panels. They're mirrors. And all those mirrors, if you look at the center of this thingy here, it's really bright. And you know why it's really bright? Because that's where all the sunlight is reflected towards, which means that within that there is a liquid, not just water, but a liquid.
It's ammonia.
It's super heated.
Yeah, it's ammonia. The liquid is ammonia.
Yeah, it's one of those heating plants. I've seen one of those before.
They're
big, but they make a lot of power.
But the thing is, even if the sun won't shine for a day, this machine, after it's had a day to run, it will run for at least a day longer, because the fluids in the machine are so superheated that it will take more than 24 hours to cool down. And as long as it's hot, it will produce energy.
Yes, it is. There's a hell of a lot of bad things. The mirrors need to be cleaned.
Yeah,
and they will become dirty very quickly.
I believe they already have machines to clean that.
Still, but still.
I mean, there's
ammonia. The fuel the liquid that they use is literally ammonia, and ammonia is a very toxic gas, liquid gas.
So is uranium too.
Not as toxic. No, uranium you can handle yellow cake. You don't need it, but you can handle it with your hand, and it does nothing.
As long as it's in the tower, that's not a problem. And as soon as it's out of the tower, it's also not a problem, because.
And then you can only put it in places like Spain, Africa, anywhere there's a lot of sun, basically.
You can put it anywhere where there's lots of sun. So there are several African countries, especially sub-Saharan and Saharan Africa.
Yeah, yes, exactly. They could put it there.
Just no problem. Fits perfectly. No problem. Fits perfectly. And if there is something that goes wrong, let's say you get an ammonia spill, so fucking what? Nobody lives nearby.
Yeah,
no, exactly. But it's not. It's still not as efficient as uranium.
It's probably not as efficient, but it's cleaner.
No, it's not cleaner than uranium. No.
Yeah, because it doesn't give any waste.
Oh yes, it does. You have to replace a lot of the ammonia after, because ammonia it changes with heating and stuff. There's leaks, and it's.
I'm pretty sure you can use it as a byproduct for something.
Yeah.
You can make bleach, but you can put uranium in glass and bury it in Norway for 1 billion years, and nothing will happen.
That's not a good byproduct when you bury it and toss it away. We already do that out plenty. We need to find some way we don't, use a byproduct as garbage disposal.
But you get more radiation going outside than you will ever do living 100 meters from a nuclear plant. The old inefficient ones.
The point is, I'm not even going to argue whether we should or should not go with plutonium. The point that I try to argue is that there are lots of alternatives.
People have been thinking about thorium, but thorium's very low level.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have enough place to, instead of one reactor, you build 3, you have the same output. But the worst part is they don't want you to go for fossil fuels, even though we can actually make fossil fuels. We don't need fossil fuels to make fossil fuels.
Yeah.
But that's not good enough. I mean,
no, like I said, you're never gonna please the ultra.
We can make biodiesel from
yes. We can make biodiesel from fucking used oil from frying potatoes.
Well, yeah, that too. But it will be absolutely 100% CO2 neutral. How do I know this? Because the plants absorb the CO2, and once you use it as fuel, it releases the CO2.
Yeah.
It will always be roughly level. Because there is no... It's not as if burning something creates CO2.
I know exactly. You're basically you use oils that are oils, olive oil, vegetable oils that you used. You recycle them into biodiesel. All you have to do is add basically an alcohol, which you can distill from making grapes, from making vodka, making wine, brandy, whiskey, all that shit. Yeah, like the Brazilians not too long ago. Before they discovered those huge oil fields in the Amazon, they were basically 87% or 80%. All their cars were 80% running on ethanol. Now they've gone all over the other side, which is fucking stupid because they had a fucking free source of energy. The ethanol that they were produced was the byproduct of making sugar and cachaça and so on.
No, but it's cheaper to use fuel. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But don't tell me it's impossible.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But not in. There are many ways you can do. Nuclear should not be discounted. Nuclear has been tarnished by certain level of a certain extremist society of ultra environmental terrorists for a long time. Nuclear can be very, very viable and very, very clean. I mean, really, really clean.
The only reason why we went with fuel-powered cars is that the first electric cars didn't have any fucking power.
Exactly, but electric cars, you can, like I said, you can use fuel cells.
The first car was electric, so
you can use fuel cells. Fuel cells were developed by NASA for going to the moon, and they are super efficient, and they bloody run on basically alcohol. You can make them run on alcohol.
The thing is with fuel cells, though, and don't get me wrong, it's a good idea. It's not cleaner than fuel.
Oh, yes, it is. It only produces steam, water.
Yeah, I know. The problem is, how do you make a fuel cell, and what comes to the market on that? Because you use a lot of pollutants to make the bloody. It's the same with lithium battery cars.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly.
The car, once it's driving on electricity, the car doesn't pollute anymore. Yeah, but how much pollutants did you need to make the car?
Pollutes to provide the energy. If you recharge it, you need to produce power plants. But the cleanest, then, if you want to really become the cleanest form of transport, let's get back to riding horses.
Actually, no, gas.
Gas?
Yeah.
Gas produces methane.
Methane is a gas. You can burn it.
Yeah, but it's a greenhouse gas.
Methane is a greenhouse gas.
It's carbon-based gas. It's carbon-based.
When you burn it, it releases
carbon dioxide and water and carbon monoxide and sodium dioxide, sodium monoxide. I know all the pollutants that natural gas, both all the natural gases produce. I know all. I was taught that in seventh year at high school in Australia.
But it's far less than any of the.
But it's still dirtier than riding a fucking horse.
Yeah, not really.
With all the farts, even with all the farts.
You're talking about LPG, right?
But do you not realize that during the height of the last glacial period, about 30,000 years ago, there were more ruminants roaming Eurasia from France to China, from the steppes of the North American plains. There were so many ruminants that were farting methane everywhere than there are all the cattle that are on Earth that have ever lived on Earth. All the herds were just mind-bogglingly huge, and they didn't cause the Earth to warm up. So about cow farts, no, we don't have enough cows to do that. We never have enough cows to do that. We've had more bison and elephants and bisons and deer, megaceratuses and mammoths, etc., than all the cows that exist in 10 years on Earth.
But it's even funnier than that, because okay, let's assume that it's because of the cows and the cow dung. Okay, well, once the cows are outside, yeah, you can't really do much. But when you have a cow in a barn, you can set up the barn so you can capture the air on the inside, and you can capture the how do you call it, manure.
Well, the manure, just put a few beetles. They'll do that. They'll recycle it. Like in Australia, there was a spontaneous combustion of a 2-year-old cattle dung in a farm because it was too hot.
Yeah, that shit does happen.
Yeah, it does, but it was news. I saw it today, and I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
But yeah, no. The thing is, there are so many other ways to go, and I'm not even going to be negative on how do you call it? I'm not even going to be negative on nuclear. But even though there are millions of ways to go, all of them are not good enough.
There is no, exactly. There is no clean energy source. There isn't. It's energy in itself is dirty. No matter what you try to do, you make solar cells. Yeah, you have to produce the solar cells, which use poisonous materials. So
I just looked at the solar power tower, and it said during the testing of one of those facilities, 115 birds just fucking spontaneously combusted when they went through the race.
that is what happened.
So
wouldn't them birds evolve to like fly around that shit though at some point?
Yep.
But no.
Yeah, we will sacrifice a couple.
What's happening today in this climate change hysteria is extremism and propaganda going wild. It's to enable a worldwide dictatorship of plutocrats. That's what's happening.
Whenever I hear the whole climate change debate, I'm always thinking of George Carlin's old bit.
I'm waiting for
will be fine. The people are fucked.
Exactly. I'm still waiting for a 12-mile high mountain to slam somewhere on Earth. That'll stop pollution.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, people, I'm going to go to bed tomorrow. I got to work. It's always a pleasure. I hope I wasn't too rambly.
No, you're really interesting, mate.
Because I know the science, and the science which I recited, I learned that in high school. It's what they taught me at high school. I don't know if they're teaching them now, but that's the science I was taught.
I very much doubt it, because I was taught things that all the younger people seem ignorant of these days as well.
It's frustrating for me. My kids learn science because here in Portugal we're still teaching science. We're too poor to not teach science. We're too poor to adopt certain philosophies. We try.
You don't major in gender studies.
We try that. Oh, there's a propaganda network.
And with Hungary, banned the subject.
Yeah, they did well, and Brazil's also banned the subject.
I mean, I'm all for private people. If you want to spend your own money,
yes,
fine.
Not governments,
not the government.
Taxpayers. No. Anyway, people, love you all. Good night.
Yeah.
Oh well, that was a good start.
Yeah, who's going to talk now?
What are we going to address next?
I guess Modwain's going to talk now.
I can always talk.
Unless you're on your own and then you suddenly find that you've nothing to say.
No, I could talk. The problem was that I kept fucking up the video that I wanted to
You
share.
can't multitask. That's what you can't do.
I can't multitask.
You can't talk and set up the video.
Well, Carlos. No, I can't. I can talk, and I didn't. I did think our last stream wasn't that bad. I really don't think it was that bad.
I'm joking. Sorry, you know me. I like to take the piss.
No. You'll be flogged come day's end.
Oh, promises.
Okay, well, that was the topic that Carlos wanted to bring in, and good topic. I really think it's a good topic. I myself was thinking about talking about the problem of the idiots calling out the world for not using their preferred gender.
Oh,
No, God, we have to talk about that shit.
Well, this is the one thing that I mean, I see a lot of people responding to it, and maybe I did too in myself as well. But the one thing that no one seems to have mentioned, and I think this is a really, really important part, is gender is a linguistic tool.
I saw that on mine too.
I mean, words have a gender. Everything biological has a sex.
Yeah, but that's not what gender actually means. Linguistically, gender is not sex. Gender is there are languages. There's one with 14 genders.
Yeah, I know.
There's, the association with male and female is just, ironically, Eurocentric.
Yep.
So the whole leftist thing about gender is, in fact, a prime example of Western cultural imperialism, the very thing they're always railing against.
Yep. And this is why I was wanting to talk about it. Because as soon as someone says this, yeah, this is my gender, you have to identify me as this. There are two things wrong with that. One, you do not decide how I identify you. I decide how I identify you. And two, you're a human being. As soon as you start claiming that you need to be gendered, you're basically saying, I am no longer a human being.
I already have a problem.
It's not about
dude and mate. Now I have to figure out other words. Seriously?
But this is the thing, though. I mean, this has nothing to do with being transgender. Funny enough, because a transgender is male female. Hence, there's only two.
Male to male.
Yeah. Well, either way, which is still a problem. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem with people who are actually transgender. I have a problem with the fact that people go along with this nonsense. I mean, if someone has schizophrenia, we don't go along with their psychosis, no, do we? But that's still not as bad as the whole gender thing. Why? Because a gender means you're no longer a biological construct.
Well, you're not a biological construct. You're a biological reality.
Fair enough. Yeah. I can live with that. That's
no. But this is they play these semantic tricks.
Yeah.
It's not the thing about the gender, it's the thing about construct. That's the important word, because they say it's a construct, and all of a sudden you're thinking it's malleable, but it's not malleable. And and they say, biological sex isn't assigned at birth. No, it was actually assigned at gestation, or was it 8 cells in or something?
No. It's slightly later. I think it's at the end of the first trimester. I'm not quite sure. I have to look.
The point is that
this is why
before birth, your sex is determined before birth.
Yeah, your sex is determined well before birth, but during birth, that's why men still have nipples.
Mm-hmm.
What?
In the beginning of our development, we develop asexual. No, asexual.
No, it's female. We start.
It is female. You're right. I wanted to say asexual, but you are correct. We start as female, and then the Y chromosome is added, and that's when we become men.
It's the Y chromosome causes an increase in testosterone, and that's what stimulates the biological changes as we develop, apparently.
That's why, biologically speaking, because the whole idea that men and women are the same. Don't get me wrong. Value-wise, yeah, sure. But biologically speaking, hell to the no.
Yo, Mod, I've had like mentors or people that have like the same job as you say that transgender is like, it's gonna turn out to be the next gay thing.
Yeah, that's not going to be the thing.
You're born gay or you're born not gay.
Yeah, but that's not.
And that's gonna be the next.
I know that a lot of people in my job seem to say that. Hell, I know psychologists who say shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is,
I don't really care that much, to be honest.
I care enough because people who suffer from gender dysphoria, and this is the funny thing, or the worst part of it, I don't know. On average, most kids grow out of gender dysphoria before they reach their late teens.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Except for kids with autism, because they start their gender dysphoria at a later date.
Oh.
So they have a harder time to get out of it. But they can get out of it if they just... The thing is, there is no such thing as a female brain in a male body. It's biologically impossible.
Seems like there's some weird connections in the brain.
Well, yeah, there are. But say, for whatever stupid reason, you have an accident and they lose everything except for your brain. From that brain, they are still able to tell you which ethnicity you are, whether you're male or female, and roughly what age you have.
Dude, they can determine ethnicity from a brain?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day, I suppose.
No, but they can, and that's the funny thing. And this is also, not too long ago. It's almost a year ago now, I guess. There was a whole article written by a biology student who was training to become a forensic, a medical forensic examiner.
Yeah.
And part of her education was that she was supposed to take some, and it was a woman, I remember this well. Part of her education was that she had to take some psychological and sociological courses.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of those courses, and I think it was a sociology course, but it could have been a psychology course, she was told that men and women were basically the same. This woman was training up to become a forensic medical examiner.
Mm-hmm.
She knows this shit. To say that a female brain and a male brain are the same is basically saying apples and pears are the same because they're both fruit.
No, but here's the irony. They want to say there's no differences in brain, and then they also want to say people need to transition. But if you're the same, why? If you're the same, can't you just say, I am?
Yeah. Well, that is the fun that people had in 2016 when they were saying Trump only has to say that he's the first female president of America, and then he is.
Didn't some politician use that in order to shut someone up?
That was in Australia, yeah. Brilliant.
I play your game, motherfucker. I'm a female. Now what?
Now what? Yeah, indeed. That's the stupidity of this whole.
Apparently, appearances don't matter to y'all. So, yeah, I'm a female with a beard.
Yeah, well, listen. I identify as a female. Yeah, but you still have your dick. Are you transphobic? But that's the thing, though. And except for the kids with progressive parents, Modwain. Yeah, you're right, Real Raven. That's the worst part. If we look at non-autistic transgenders, nearly all of them are being pushed into transgenderism by their parents, or at least one of the two parents.
Yeah.
And I have been working on it. Well, not that hard. I'll not lie. I should work on it harder. There's a PBS documentary transgenderism. Oh, kids should be able to give the chance to transition from male to female at an earlier age. And the families where the kid comes from, one of the parents, and it's usually the father, is very much against the whole push for transgenderism. And it's usually the mother that's like, oh no, yeah, look at my beautiful boy. He used to be a girl, but now he's a beautiful boy, or vice versa.
Well, it's kind of equivalent to the Munchausen's by proxy, isn't it?
It is. And the worst part of it is 40% of people suffering from gender dysphoria commit suicide.
Yeah.
There isn't a group out there that scores so high. Not even PTSD soldiers score that high.
And I bet if you then start transitioning kids who are easily malleable but aren't actually gender dysphoric, and you actually irreversibly first sterilize them and B, transition them, then that rate is going to go through the roof.
That's another stupid thing.
Isn't that also a very big problem with hermaphrodites and shit?
No, hermaphrodites are a problem all by itself.
But they're such a tiny percentage. This is the problem.
And then they'd be all like, what the fuck?
Well, hermaphrodites are hermaphrodites. And as John said, they're a fraction of a fraction. And
a tiny number. And we shouldn't be setting the rules for everybody based on these tiny numbers.
But the thing, though, the average hermaphrodite is not a transgender.
Yeah.
They go through life either as male or female because that's how they feel mostly. And usually you can identify them based on their hormone excretion within their body. But they are barren. I mean, if they go as a woman, they can't have a child. If they go as a man, they can't impregnate. So, yeah, these people have it hard enough as it is. But the problem with transgenderism, they are okay with giving kids pre-pubescent hormones, hormone blockers, so to speak, to alter these kids. But what it does, it's limiting their development. So basically what they are doing is they're stunting their children. They're stunting.
Child abuse is literally child abuse.
It is literally child abuse. And the thing is, I mean, there are a few people who transition from male to female or female to male that are happy with their life. And to them, I say, all the power to you. I really hope you have a happy life because gender dysphoria is a problem. And as John Lennon once said, whatever gets you through the night, it's all right. And I believe that.
But the problem is it's this problem of time. What seems, imperative and absolute necessity now can be absolutely the opposite of how you feel tomorrow, let alone in 10 years' time.
Dear God, I have that with my depressions. Let alone people with transgender or this gender dysphoria shit.
The problem with this gender dysphoria shit is that we're not allowed to talk about it and we have to accept it and it's so good and it's so... As what Warp said a moment ago, there are forums where they actually target autistic kids with the transgender shit. And I work with kids with autism. In the last few years, I have seen a few that were gender dysphoric. And unfortunately, our psychiatrist decided to not go into it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing because on average, these kids grow out of it eventually. So not paying a lot of attention to it isn't really a bad thing. But if they are constantly being pushed in a certain direction, then yeah, you need to push back.
It kind of sounds to me like, we don't give a fuck about your if you get suicidal, let us know. We'll help you out.
Yeah, that's unfortunately not that far from the reality of it. To me, that's scary. And then you have the trenders that are pushing this.
Sure.
And indeed, John, it is very weird that all of a sudden we're on the side of the TERFs. And I don't mind that someone wants to transition from male to female. I'm not a fan of it, but it's nothing to do with me. So listen, if this makes them happy, okay, go ahead. But a transgender man to woman will never be a woman, no matter how much we dress her up.
But this is the difference between sex and gender. And this is why, you know, I did my video a while ago, why I will never use the word gender. Because it's not sex, and the fact that they play these semantic games of interchanging the two and conflating one for the other is how they get away with so much shit, because basically they confuse people.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying gender is basically a linguistic tool. So if you say you have a certain gender, well, okay, that's all right, but you also have a sex.
Yeah.
And the two aren't mutually exclusive.
But no one. Noel Plum did a video, and he was saying he's reading the British government guidance, and he said they spent the first 15 pages explicitly defining the difference between sex and gender, and then spent the rest of it muddling the two up interchangeably. And that's what they do, because if you're not really, really strict and just say sex, I'm going to talk about sex. Your biology, which actually say you can transition, you can do all the surgery, you can take all the hormones, but it doesn't change your biology. And it never will. And the lie, and it is a lie they push, that it can, is what causes the harm.
Yep. And there is a lot of damage coming from it. And I once said at work, and a colleague was really upset about it, that I said this, but I'll repeat it here. In all fairness, people pushing for gender dysphoria, I have no problem if they put these people against the wall and pull the bloody trigger, because they're playing Russian roulette with their kids. And it's beyond me that anyone thinks that this is okay.
It wasn't a person jailed not too long ago for saying a woman is not a man. A man is not a woman.
Yeah, well, they're in Britain, you know, they're arresting people for tweeting that a woman is, a transsexual person is not a woman.
God damn it, Jez, if you're screaming, at least mute your mic.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, he's not hearing that.
Yeza, are you there, mate?
Oh, noise.
Yeah,
next time you're screaming, mute your freaking mic.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you didn't mute it. That's the problem. Anyway, warped reflection. I read a comment section, all young LGBT people, and they were saying in LGBT groups, sissy boys and butch lesbians are being told they're really trans, bi people are really gay, etc., etc. It's very toxic. And you know what? That is the problem.
Yeah,
it is identity politics. It's no longer about sexual orientation. Homosexuality, sexual orientation.
It is actually homophobic.
Trans is homophobic.
No. That attitude, telling someone that if they're a sissy boy or a butch lesbian, they aren't themselves, but they're really trans, is homophobic.
Well, but the whole idea of trans is homophobic.
No, well, look, I mean, I don't want to conflate two issues, because you have people who have gender dysphoria and therefore can be trans, but that's separate from being gay.
Yeah, it is.
And this is what I'm saying, that that statement of Warps is saying they're conflating the two, and they're denying that people can any longer be gay.
Mm-hmm.
It's homophobic.
Maybe ignorant on this, but why is trans homophobic?
No, not trans. That's statement.
I'm asking Modwain because he said it.
Because trans basically say, and then I point towards people like Riley Dennis, who is a trans woman with a dick that likes to have sex with women, and if they don't want to have sex with him because he's a woman as well, they are something
with a
of.
penis, and they don't like penises. How dare they?
Uh,
But he also puts out a video saying he's entitled to his choices.
And that's the whole thing. And that's why the trenders, and well, maybe not transgenders in themselves, but trenders are indeed homophobic. Because basically what they're saying is, you're not allowed to have your sexuality.
Yeah,
You
that's
have
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They're having people enforce an identity from the outside.
Yeah.
But this is what I was saying before the stream. I was saying how the problem with the left is that they're now anti-equality, they're anti the principles, and this is a prime example of it. The left so long fought for gay acceptance, and having got gay acceptance, they're now fighting for anti-gay acceptance.
But the funny thing is that I know a few people that are gay, and they want absolutely nothing to do with the whole rainbow flag movement.
Yeah.
They are absolutely disgusted by them.
But what I've heard is that the people who are genuinely transsexual feel the same way about the so-called transgender activists who aren't transgender activists. Most of them are not transgender. They're just authoritarians.
Isn't that two different things as well, though? Transgenders and transvestites?
Transvestite is our old-fashioned term for men who like to dress as women and are not necessarily even gay.
Yeah, they like to dress up as women,
but they can still be heterosexual.
Yeah, no problem. Most of them still are.
But they just want to look fabulous.
It's a show for them. It's
yeah, and why not? You know, because as a man, there is an aspect of how you can express yourself that is denied to us compared to women. And so being a transvestite is a way to say, no, I want some of that. Society gears all the presentation towards women. Makeup and the clothes and the shoes and everything is all for women. So if you're a man, what do you do?
Yeah, just less open.
Yeah. Sounds like double dipping.
The thing is, Renovatio says gay people need to form a new gay movement. LGBT has become an authoritarian movement. It's not only become an authoritarian movement, it's become a divisive movement. And there are actually people who will say LGBTQ because you want to have queer in there.
Why?
Not that anyone
why
queer means. And there are also people who will say LGBTP because pedophiliacs needs to be in there.
Now, Modwain, it's pedosexual these days.
Yeah, actually not.
Thank God.
And it should be GL. It should be GLT. There's no need for B. There's no need for B, and it should be GLT.
Actually, it should. I mean,
the gays should come first. The lesbians always take credit for all the hard work.
No. I'm going to be even nastier than that, because a lesbian is gay.
Yes.
Okay, so it should be G.
Yeah, but this is a problem of language, which is phenomenally biased, because there's a special lesbian is a special word for women, right?
Yeah.
Whereas gay is a word that men had to try and find to call themselves. But as you noticed, it's not sex specific. It can also apply to women. And so there is no equivalent term for men to lesbian.
No, because there was poofter, which is a negative word.
No, but slurs, queer.
Slur.
And this is why I object to queer, because for most of my life, gay people fought hard to not be called queer, and then a whole bunch of young, ignorant people come back and say, oh, no, we want to be called queer again.
Yeah. But that's the same thing happening in the universities in America, where they're actually protesting to get segregation.
Yeah.
I mean, they just should use gay for men and dyke for women. End of story.
But they're both gay.
Yes, but, keep the gay for the men since they want an exclusive word for them, which I don't have a problem. They can be gay or happy or
Men
whatever you want to call it.
Or happy, because that's what it
men
used to
don't
mean.
want to have a special name for them. They just want to have an easier word than homosexual.
Well, call them dykes. A dyke is a gay woman. It's a woman that wants to be a guy in a relationship. It's a dyke.
Women created the word lesbian.
Yeah, as I say, there are these terms. Lesbian is a
Well,
socially
they can't use
acceptable,
that. No, they can't
non-insulting
use that
term for
word.
women, and
They can't-
there is no equivalent for men.
But
So
see, they
in
can't
fact,
use
it's a term for
lesbian.
men that's needed. Something
Women
that is
cannot
just
use
a,
the word lesbian because lesbian indicates already that it's a soft version of the woman. They're already soft. How much softer they want to be? They don't want to be soft. They want to be the hard person of the relationship. That's why they call
Sorry.
them dykes.
Lesbian indicates they want to be soft.
It's
Yeah.
a soft word. That's why they made it. We don't want to
I
be
thought
called
it was
gay.
after the Greek island of Lesbos.
We don't want to be called gay. We don't want to be called dyke. We want to be called lesbian.
Yes, but lesbian existed as a term before that, and it already has its own meaning.
Yeah, so just call them gay and
No, as I say, outside of America, where they seem to have a peculiar attitude to things and not be aware of history, lesbian already exists as a term, and it means a gay woman. My point is that there is no term for gay man of equivalence that is specifically.
If I decide to come to a guy and I don't want to call him gay because he's gonna feel offensive. How offensive would it be if I say he's a lesbian?
Hey, fag.
No, because other countries fag is not a curse word.
I know.
No, but I'm saying there is no word for men, and that's what I'm saying. It would be better if there was a male-only term.
Who the hell cares?
I
man?
thought fruitcake was the word for that, but you know.
No, but there's lots of slurs. There are lots of slurs.
Yeah, but they want
is the old English slur.
They want a soft word to describe them. Lesbians already taken. They don't want to be called gays because gay is it's a byword. It goes either way. Call them something else. Call them fruity. What the hell?
Yeah, you can call them fruity, sure.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like lesbian. I mean, what does that mean? You know, as a word, just as a word, lesbian
means a soft woman that likes women.
No. What does the word lesbian mean? Etymologically, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, whereas all these slurs, fruitcake. I'm sorry, that's a cake. You describing something else and you're applying it to them.
Which nobody wants, but yet it keeps getting sold every freaking year.
No, people like fruitcakes.
And besides, fruitcake is not a cake; it's a weapon.
By the way, I'm going slightly off topic. Warped. You gave me a link to an article of the Volkskrant. I want you to know that I am currently working on a video trying to basically show the idiocy of that article. It is somewhat more... Warped gave me an article from the Volkskrant in the Netherlands talking about how the talking how YouTube is creating the alt-right and the right-wing extremism. And the Volkskrant actually went further than standard bullshit out there.
Well, that was exactly what I was about to describe, that crap. But
yeah, but they actually went further. Obviously, and this is right at the start of the article, they're talking about how people, for example, got pointed to videos from Stefan Molyneux, where he talked about how slavery wasn't something just done by white people. And apparently this is an example of why he is right-wing.
Right-wing is everything I don't like. Don't you know that yet?
Yeah, well,
just being historically accurate.
Yep, which is a way of being right-wing. I'm working on it. I made a bunch of screenshots, to be honest, but I was hoping to do it a little bit faster. I made 32 screenshots of the article. So it's a large article. What can I say?
Apparently so. But again, going back to the crazy topic.
Sorry.
There is no right word to describe the stupidity, and there's no reason whatsoever to be offended by whatever you're called. If you're offended, you don't like it. It's not that the person that's saying it doesn't like it. It's you don't like it.
I quite agree. 100% about offence. Offence is taken, not given.
Name calling only offends people that don't like it. That's
No,
it.
it's not just that, but it's also it is an act of power to reject offence. So if someone calls you a name, you are actually empowering them by taking offence.
Listen,
Yo, what's up, bro?
If you refuse and say, I'm not offended by that, so all of a sudden you've taken away their power.
Well, that's the whole point.
That kind of sounds like framing in the pickup artist fucking theory. Whoever has the strongest frame wins.
I've been called a lot of things over the years, and I'll tell you how many offended me. None.
From NLP.
Yeah. Well, as they say, there's two options. If someone calls you a name, it's either true or false. If it's true, it's true. And if it's false, that only said something about them, not about you.
As I always say, those above me don't want to insult me. Those below me cannot insult me. And I do not decide where they stand. They decide where they stand.
It's to me, John, not to offend you, but being the truth or not, it's still not offensive.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
It doesn't really matter because people call me cracker. I'm highly offended. Let's say I'm highly offended because I'm white. Oopsie-doo, I'm white.
You're offended by being called what you are.
Now, that's the problem. People have issues because they don't want to be called what they are. They want to be called what they're not.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's either true, in which case it's true, or it's false, in which case
that's still not a good reason to get offended. People call me a cracker. I'm going to be offended because I'm a cracker.
One should never be offended, and you're never offended because it's either true or it's false. That's what I'm saying.
I always talk about this example, but the two black guys in my school, one would get all pissy when you said, "Hey, what's up, my nigga?" Back when I didn't even know about racism, And the other guy just goes, and the other guy is all like, you say, "What's up, my nigga?" And he goes, "What's up, cracker?" And I'm like, dude. And I always try to tell the other guy, the one that got offended, like, dude, why can't you handle it like this guy? That's so much better for you and everyone around you.
I mean, I actually think that if we could persuade African Americans to call them that.
No, you can't call them African American because they're not from Africa.
No. I'm just using it to please. As I say, to use that dreadful phrase, I was saying it's a dreadful phrase, right? To not get offended at the word nigger, if they learn to do that and just said, yeah, okay, so you're calling me a derivative of the word black, I'm black, fine, and that's supposed to offend me, pointing out that I have the...
I had a black friend. You know what I called him? Cracker.
Oh, dear God. There was this black guy that I know that would just fucking in the middle of the city, he would just, a black guy, right? He just goes, "Heil Hitler."
Well, they had a show.
Everybody's like, dude, what the fuck?
They had a show in Britain. There's an American comedian from Georgia, a black guy, and he put on a show, a one-man show. He'd written himself in London, and it had the word nigger in the title. And
shut down.
Because this black American wasn't allowed to use the word in a one-man show. He'd written himself. It's insane.
It's the level of stupidity that people go through or go for so they can find the better way to do themselves. I'm like, really? You're offended by something that has no relationship with you whatsoever. It's a word. If you get offended by words, you got problems.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say.
You are emotionally broken. It's not that colored, and it's not that. I've been called Puerto Rican, and I'm Norwegian, so it gets a little weird.
No, but here's the thing. I think it's like a Pavlovian response.
Yeah.
So that people have been taught to react. And we know people react far quicker than they think.
Sure do.
Usually, yeah.
And it's always the thing that people think is going to offend the other person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People are taught, literally taught, if you hear this, be offended. If you hear that, be offended. If, any hint of the other, see offense. And never once do they sit back and go, well, let's just wonder what was intended and what's actually happening. Like that monkey, like that coolest monkey in the jungle t-shirt.
I mean, I've been called a lot of things at work. I even been called a gay guy. And, this guy, he came to me, he's like, you know what? You do that because you're gay. You're a faggot. And I looked at him, well, honey, if you tell everybody that, we can't go on a date anymore. I can't buy you chocolate now. And he felt even more offended. His friend started laughing. He got mad. I'm like, why are you mad? You just called me gay. Did you lose interest in me already?
Can I just suggest that he was probably being homophobic to hide his own doubt?
Even if he was, people get offended.
No, but this is what I'm saying. Is like, you probably find that no one who's confident in their heterosexuality would behave like that. Therefore, he's acting out his own insecurity, projecting it onto you, and you just called him out on his bullshit. And no wonder he gets angry, because he can't cope.
Oh, yeah. My sister had a friend like that, too. He's like, we were in the bar, and he's like, I know a really quick way to make you go away, and cozying all up to me and pretending like he's going to kiss me, and I'm like, hey, I can get rid of you way quicker by doing the same. And he was like, gone.
I
mean, later we had a drink and it was all funny and stuff, but
But it's that thing that people get offended too easily. Like you said, taught from the beginning to be offended by these stupid remarks. Yep. And that is bad. It's bad, and it continues going on, and nobody thinks, why are they supposed to be offended by words?
Intent and context are also very important, because if you were in an argument, you should say whatever nasty shit comes to your head.
Well, I mean, remember,
Dankula. By a one-legged dude and you happen to survive, you go, oh, God damn it, you one-legged motherfucker. You better have some two-legged insurance.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Most so-called insults are merely observations. So, for instance, if you knew someone who's black, right? And you call them a black bastard, the black part is merely an adjective that is an observation. It is not saying that they're anything to do with the insult. It's not causal. They're not a bastard because they're black. They just happen to be black, and that's an adjective.
Again,
like we call people ginger bastards or whatever because they're ginger.
Yep, and they're bastards. And we call other gingers, well, John, for example, or Jack, because they're not bastards.
There's no.
No, I mean, you only insult people when you want to insult them. And you only do that because something went wrong with the interaction between you and that person.
I can't hear the name. I can't hear the name Jack anymore without thinking it being short for jackass.
Not really. It's funny because I was thinking jack off, but there you go.
There you go.
Hey, listen, I know Mr. Goff. Don't make fun of him.
But again, that's me. Words don't hurt. Words don't do anything. They're just words. If you're insulted or hurt by words, you got either a psychological problem that you developed some time ago, or you got a psychological problem that your parents created for you.
Or you're an SJW, in which case you just are a problem.
No, you just create a problem. You're not are. You're just creating one because you got nothing else better to do.
Oh, dear God, I was fighting all the time in fucking preschool because they called me gay.
Yeah, no.
Couldn't freaking
guys, considering the time, and because my good friend Smirkus has to wake up tomorrow morning.
Ja, tomorrow Academie voor Zelfstandigheid.
You can do it, man. We have faith in you.
Yeah, woo!
Anyway, considering that, I am going to call it quits. We had a good run. It was a fun talk, both on the LGBT transgender bullshit and the social hubbub around global warming. And I still don't know what the problem is with global warming, to be honest. Let's assume
stupidity.
Sorry?
Stupidity. You know, people, when they get together, become collectively stupider. You put a lot of people together, they are thick as pig shit, and you then get them discussing an issue, and no sense will prevail.
That's the funny thing, though.
The issue with global warming is that I have to move to a fucking colder country.
No, why? We have echoes.
Fuck that. I want winners. Man. I want winners. Not what we're having in the Netherlands for the last 10 years.
Hey, you can always move over here, nice and cold.
Oh, shit.
You can go to America. Oh, Canada.
Go to North Dakota, freeze my ass off every winter.
It's nice here.
Yeah.
No neighbors.
Every Canadian and person from the northern United States spends half the year moaning about how hot it is and the rest of the year moaning about how cold it is. And there's nothing in between.
No, that sounds like Dutch people.
Well, yeah, Dutch people always complain about the weather too. Interesting.
Dude, I found a gunny post, sort of. But
hey, guys, but anyone wants to have any famous last words?
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, I want to hit you with a car, throw you off a tree so high, hope you break your neck and die. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, I want to hit you with my car.
Yeah, that was very nice.
I'm good here, Modwain. This was a good conversation as usual. So I'm always happy to join.
Well, you're welcome to join, mate. John, any finishing thoughts?
No.
Hey,
no thoughts, period.
No thoughts. Do you want to talk about your article, or rather the article you sent me next week?
If you've read it.
Well, I'm halfway through it.
Due to a suggestion I received, I'm thinking of doing just a voice recording, not a video, just a voice recording. I might record it. And then...
Well, in that case, do you want to? Shall we wait with addressing it till after you recorded your own thing?
Well, I can do that. Famous last words, promises. I could do it straight away because it's already written. But and there's 2 parts. I only sent you part 1.
No, you sent me part 2 too.
Did I send you part 2?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Let me see. I am absolutely sure about it.
No, that's fine because let's just say I have a radical, unconventional view of what left and right wing are, and how, to summarize, socialism and Marxism are not left wing. Is my conclusion.
They try to lean on left wing.
Well, but my point is that to be left wing in origin is to support equality, and equality is about essentially. We say the modern left is going further left. I disagree fundamentally. To go further left, you become an anarchist.
Yeah.
Just as if you go further right, you become a libertarian. And
no libertarians.
No, I'm just saying that if you go extreme one way, you become an anarchist. And if you go extreme the other way, you become a libertarian. Whereas Marxism is authoritarianism, which is the opposite of anarchy and libertarianism. It is up. It isn't left or right. It is up.
Yeah, but this is
this is the problem. And here's the problem: they use the language of equality, but as we've seen, they are anti-equality because the minute they have equality, they're still not happy, and then they want to impose.
But isn't that because humanity is inherently unequal?
Yeah, because they're trying to circle a square.
And the thing is, and this is something I've said in the past many a time, and I absolutely feel no reason to deny this. Marxism has done nothing but try to create a new ruling class.
Exactly, and that is part of my explanation. And that ruling class is elitist, anti-equality, and is therefore not left-wing. And that is part of my thesis.
Well, in that case, I haven't read all of it, but yeah, this is something I have said in the past many a time, and I still believe that this is the case.
Yeah.
So,
but as I was saying, the problem is on the left you have two ideologies. You have the ideology of equality, which is like your anarchist strain, and you have the socialist strain, which says, "Oh, we're for everyone." They say they're for everyone, but all the conclusions are the opposite. All the conclusions are elitist. Mm-hmm. Because what was it, Lenin? Oh, we need a vanguard. And we're the vanguard. Oh, convenient, that isn't it? You don't need a vanguard and it's always somebody else who has to be the vanguard. No, you'll be the vanguard.
And this is a thing I never really understood. And it's the thing with the new Green Deal as well. And I really wanted to go into that one for myself a bit more, not today, obviously. But the whole new Green Deal thing, I'm like, from what I heard so far, it makes me so much recognize what happened in Mao, China, with the Great Leap Forward. But no matter where you go, whenever they talk about what socialism, communism will do for the country, it's always a version of Lysenkoism and the Great Leap Forward.
Yeah, and it's elitism. It's always a very privileged ruling class who don't suffer any of the consequences of their policies, and they keep doing all these things in your interest. I'm just going to kick you for your own good. Is essentially what socialism and Marxism are, and those aren't left-wingers, as far as I'm concerned. They're just authoritarianism and elitism, and so. But that's my thesis. I put out in these two parts. Is my thesis about, where the ideas of the left came from in an unequal world, and why socialism and Marxism aren't left-wing.
So we're going to talk about that next week.
Well, maybe. I mean, if he makes his own video about it, we can.
Well, what I can do. I don't know how these things work. I'll see what I can do.
We'll talk about it next week. If you want, we can. If not, I'll have something else.
Well, you never know that a major event might break out. A week's a long time in politics.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, that was funny, Smirkers. Anyway, people, thank you very much for joining us. And this is where we say bye-bye, bye-bye, Malachite, bye-bye, Warped, bye-bye, Renovatio. I don't know the name Renovatio. Renovatio, are you new? Or is this just a name?
No, he has been here before, but just not often.
Okay. I can't remember that name. But never mind. I mean, you're welcome to join us. So, yeah, there is that. Bye-bye, Ludicrous. And, that's it for today, it seems. Oh, Nick was here. Nick was a great joiner yesterweek. Last week, yesterweek. So I'm hoping he'll join us in the stream one day again in the future.
I'm glad you had him on, because I've been trying to hint at you inviting him for the longest time, because I thought it'd be good.
Well, everyone is welcome, you know that.
No, I know, but I like his content, and I thought
I am subscribed to him. I know his content, so I like his stuff as well. Anyway, and Real Raven was around for a short second. I wish you all a very good night, and this is where we're going to say bye-bye.